your new book, you write, quote, "The onus of defeating ISIS is squarely on Iraqis and Kurds." That sounds good, of course, but it doesn't seem to be working. The Iraqi army was not up to the task in Ramadi.
Well, that's a real question, because people are now saying, well, we should have just stayed. But we stayed for a decade. We trained them for a decade. We've given them billions of dollars of weapons. And I've jokingly said, you know what we should have bought them is tearaway uniforms, so when they run, they can tear their uniforms off quicker. However, the Kurds are a different story. The Kurds are good fighters. I would go one step further. I would arm the Kurds, and I would also offer them a homeland. If you will fight, and if you will fight to keep people out and to push out these marauders, I'd give you a homeland.
But then why isn't that working in Ramadi? And what about Baghdad? I mean, what would you do if Baghdad were in danger of falling?
Yeah, I'm all for the U.S. Helping and supporting the Iraqis, and we have been. And I'm all for the air power, and I'm for continuing to help the Iraqis and the Kurds with arms and with air support. Ramadi is different. It's not a Kurdish region. You're now talking about a Sunni region. This is ultimately why Iraq has devolved into a failed state, because what we got is a government that's almost entirely Shiite, aligned with Iran, and the Sunnis feel left out. It's also why Americans or Shiites can take the cities, but we can't ultimately hold them and have a lasting peace unless the Sunnis are involved. So it's a very, very complicated situation with many different players, but if the Sunnis are not involved, there will be no lasting peace.
But if you were president and you saw ISIS encroaching on Baghdad, what would the U.S. role be?
Well, right now it would be air support, but the one thing I would be doing in addition to that would be arming the Kurds to a much greater extent than we have been, recognizing the Kurds as a nation,